Whenever I was lonely was when I ended up dating people I shouldn't have been dating. Hey Rumi, so it's kind of late and I wanted to do a couple girl talks, so I'm going to bulk record while I kind of have makeup on. Alright, so this question is, can a guy and a girl be best friends, or does one always secretly like the other? Now, I'm in my 30s, okay? And I'm gonna be completely transparent with you guys because I've had a decent amount of experience within having male friendships and then within actually dating people. I feel like there are only certain parameters around how male and female can actually have friendships that are strictly platonic. It just really depends if you're each other's type as far as attractive wise, you know, I guess this could be physical attractive, mentally attractive, emotionally attractive. Most people are usually base it off of physical attractive. And then you also have to think about the fact that, are you guys hanging out a lot? Because one thing I feel like people don't acknowledge, if you are in close quarters with someone where you interact with them on a regular basis, whether it's daily or weekly, if you are constantly interacting with someone and investing time into this person, and especially if you guys are spending time together, you know, chuckling, kikiing, laughing it up, you know, hanging out, sometimes what ends up happening is because you guys are being so close, vulnerability happens, which means that connections form. Connections happen, and then one person could like the other because of these interactions, especially if you guys are not interacting and doing separate dates with other people. This is where I feel like this could be a problem within having friendships with someone, where it's like, can we really have friends with someone of the opposite sex? And this is something that has happened to me a multiple of times, where I would start being cool with someone that potentially was my friend for a while that was a male. However, we weren't that close until a certain point, and then when we would get close, what would end up happening is we would be talking on the phone, laughing, texting, having little inside jokes. Sometimes we would go out to eat, hang out, have a good time. And then sometimes they would end up telling me, like, yeah, I'm interested in you. And it's like, again, it's just the parameters. You have to have distance if you want to have those types of friendships, if I'm being completely honest. You have to have some sort of boundary, if that makes sense. There also has to be acknowledgement of, if when you guys first started being friends, did this person initially only see you as like, yeah, I can be friends with her, or did they see you as, yeah, this is a potential person I would either like to get into bed with or become friends with? Because that is something to think about too, because I'm not gonna hold you guys, I've had a decent amount of times where somebody would tell me they wanted to be friends with me, but their entire intent was to actually date me. And I would realize this because within starting a friendship, if you will, they would end up flirting with me. And it would just, for me, I'm a person that takes flirting very seriously. So if you're my friend and you say you're trying to be my friend and you flirt with me, I'm kind of looking at you like, friends don't do that. And I have a boundary set. Now, if you like that person, that's different, but you do have to remember that when you do stuff like that, it can become confusing, and that's when situationships potentially happen, where both of y'all flirting with each other, then y'all start hanging out, then y'all get to kissing, and then, other stuff happen. So you do have to set certain boundaries in place. That's why I feel like it's so much better to be like, are you strictly interested in me and talking to me and dating me, or are you interested in actually hanging out with me and being friends? Like, which one is it? Because, I don't want a situation where I'm in a situationship, because that's wasting my time. Like, especially if you're a person that wants to, date for marriage and stuff like that, you kind of have to be direct, I've learned. You know, it's either one or the other. And then you also have to put a boundary within yourself, like, this is what I said that I was going to do. I'm not going to turn away from this. But again, you do have to set up distance, you know, where it's like, if I'm cool with this male guy, I'm going to talk to him once a week or once every other week. And I'm going to also still interact and entertain dates. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want that type of relationship, especially if you truly want to have platonic relationships with men. It's also good if, you know, one of you or both of you actually have relationships, and then y'all can do double dates, because then it's like, okay, this is a good friendship, you know, there's no chance for us doing anything where it's not friendly. Another thing about having platonic friendships is just, you have to be very careful about how vulnerable you are, especially if you are sharing information about your dating life, or if you're talking to someone, sharing about your significant other, if you're having problems. Because one way that I have noticed that platonic friendships can go from platonic to like friends with benefits or situationship situations is because people consistently will have that one friend that they could potentially be attracted to, that they overly share certain information about their dating experiences, especially if it's current. So I'll give y'all an example. When I was younger, I'll say high school. When I was in high school, I remember I would, you know, have a boyfriend or something. Let's say high school to like early 20s. I remember I would have a boyfriend or something, right? And I had this one friend. If ever something went wrong, I would always talk to this one friend about, you know, situations I would be going through. And we both would do this with each other. Like, if he was having issues with a girl he was dating, he would do the same thing. If I had an issue with a guy, I would come to them to complain about it, okay? Now, this was kind of wrong, just because I feel like if you have an issue with someone that you're dating, and if you really feel the need to talk to somebody about it, it should be the person that you're dating. And then if they don't get with the program, then I guess that's not the one for you. Like, I don't really know how many ways I could say that, but simple as that, you know. If they're not getting with it, then they could get lost, or, you know, you need to come to the realization, are you being irrational about your needs or wants, or is it really that they aren't fulfilling what they're supposed to be doing as your significant other, you know what I mean? But when you're young, you don't really know what you want too much. You're figuring things out, you're figuring yourself out, you know. Sometimes people don't even know if they want to be monogamous, you know what I mean? I remember we would confide in each other, and unfortunately it was always when we were vulnerable. Now, what ended up happening was, after maybe let's say 5 or 6 years of us being cool and being friends, I remember the guy that I was cool with, he was single, and out of the whole period of us being friends, we were never single at the same time. So he was single, and I remember I ended up getting out of a relationship. I was confiding in him about that breakup, and what ended up happening was, you know, I told him what happened, everything. You know, he tried to cheer me up, whatever. Within that same week of me, you know, sharing my breakup information and being vulnerable, crying and stuff, he ended up sharing with me and breaking down to me that he wanted to be with me, and, you know, he was like, we should give it a try. You know, we've heard each other's experiences, going through all this stuff, we should give it a try. Now, for me personally, I did not see him in that way, because firstly, I'm like, we're friends, and if you're in the friend lane, I usually don't want to talk to you that way, to be honest. Like, that rarely happens. But if I could tell someone isn't really trying to, like, be friends, they want to date me, then that's different. But the way he put it, it was kind of like he was saying he always wanted to date me, but it was never the right time, which was like, that's crazy for you to be my friend all this time and for you to end up telling me that you actually wanted to talk to me this whole time, but you instead kind of friend zoned yourself on your own, because I did not put you there when we first met, and you kind of just, was just waiting around to the perfect moment if that would have happened while you were dating other people. Not to say that he was focused on me the entire time, but it's just the fact that somewhere in his mind he potentially thought about that, you know what I mean? Or that's how he expressed it to me. I didn't like this, and that was one of the reasons why we stopped being cool, because I'm like, this is a moment where I'm vulnerable, and you kind of took it upon yourself to, I don't want to say prey on my vulnerability, but you took it upon yourself to, come at me with this information when it wasn't a good time. I'm still going through, a breakup, getting over this guy, and technically you would end up being a rebound anyway if we actually did talk. So, I just feel like you have to be very careful about oversharing with friends and being vulnerable, because a lot of people do not talk about this, but a lot of people emotionally cheat and they don't realize that they're emotionally cheating. And emotionally cheating is when you basically, you share certain vulnerabilities with someone that you would potentially date, or you overshare about your own personal relationship when you shouldn't be, or you're being vulnerable in a way where technically you should be vulnerable with your significant other that way. Or, you're flirting with them in a way that's connecting to your emotions, where it's kind of, I guess, rubbing you the right way when it's like you should only be getting that from your significant other. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't really talk about that. A lot of people kind of just like, only physical interactions are cheating. Some people only think that, having, sexual relations is like the only way of cheating. It's like, no. Like, you can cheat physically, but you can also cheat emotionally. So, well, that's just my personal opinion. So many people think differently. But, you do have to be very careful within having platonic friendships. You can only be vulnerable so much, just because it's a chance that, you might end up falling for that person. I know, like, when it comes to those types of relationships, you also have to be careful within, being lonely and then hanging out with someone too. Because I will say, and I could make a whole video about this, but I will say that within being lonely, you do tend to become attracted to people who are nice to you, or people who show you kindness, or people who give you, actual time and like energy, or, just people who are around you. It's something about when someone just spends time with you and, you guys are creating memories or just interacting with each other. It can definitely appeal to like your loneliness. And, it's nothing wrong with being lonely. Everybody gets lonely sometimes. But when you feeling lonely, I'm not gonna lie, for me, that was whenever I was lonely was when I ended up dating people I shouldn't have been dating. I do feel that within having friendships, sometimes loneliness can trigger platonic relationships to not be platonic anymore. It can trigger crushes or development of feelings, and you kind of have to check those thoughts. For example, if you're hanging out with a guy and talking to him all the time, and then originally, you spoke to him, you guys said that you guys were going to be friends, or it was established some type of way that you guys are friends, and then you start subtly liking him, you do have to evaluate, like, okay, why do I like him? What are his flaws? Am I willing to risk this friendship? Do I actually want something more? And actually be honest with yourself, because a lot of times people end up in situations where they actually would like to date their friend, but they will settle for friends with benefit situationship type of vibe. And it's like, if that's not really what you want, don't waste your time, sis. Like, don't waste the effort, don't waste your body on that person, especially if they have made it clear, like, yeah, I don't want nothing serious, I still want to be cool with you, but I want friends with benefits or a situationship. Like, it's just gonna upset you. I'm not even gonna hold you. It's just gonna upset you. Gonna be a waste of time. You could be focusing on somebody else that's actually a good fit for you. So it's just better to evaluate things from a logical perspective and not emotional or physical. Like, really think things out long-term wise, and from a standpoint of, do I really want to risk this friendship? Are there actually, some negative red flags there? Do they actually want to be serious with me, or are they just doing FWB, friends with benefits, Never allow yourself, unless it's what you want, never allow yourself to only be friends with benefits if you know you want something deeper than that. Because 9 times out of 10, I leave that one point for potential, but 9 times out of 10, if someone tells you they want friends with benefits, it normally doesn't turn into anything serious, if I'm being completely honest. It just becomes situationships, and you don't want to be wasting your time or, your body on somebody that isn't trying to be serious, especially if that's something that you deep down want. You don't want to do that, because I'm telling you, it will just upset you. Especially if you go months and years into dealing with this situation and you realize, like, yeah, I enjoy this time with them, but at the same time, I'm hurting because I want something more. So it's just something to think about. But yeah, so that was my girl talk for tonight. I'm about to record some more girl talk videos, actually, because I feel like I got a little boost of energy as I'm recording this video. So I'm gonna record some more. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any other topics of discussion or questions you would like for me to answer. But yeah, without further ado, stay blessed, stay positive, check out my other videos, and I'll be back really soon. Bye.